Hey everybody, I want to apologize for the watermark that's on screen right now. I'm testing out a new screen recorder and video editing app, and I just want to see how it works before I decide to spend money on it. So up until now, I've been using a combination of a paint program, either Mac Paint or Full Paint, and a drawing program, Mac Draw, to generate all of the artwork for my Pathfinder campaign. And the reason is because these applications have different strengths and weaknesses, and they tend to complement each other. For instance, paint programs are very good at enabling you to add small details and create organic looking special effects on an image. For instance, I can draw this black circle and with the paint can and some white paint, a few dabs here and there creates a very nice 3D effect. This would be very difficult to do in a drawing program. On the other hand, all paint programs tend to suffer the same weakness, and that is they treat the canvas as nothing more than a collection of pixels. Once you add an element to the canvas, it loses its identity and you can no longer manipulate it individually. And I can demonstrate this. For instance, here's a rectangle, and let's say I want to draw a circle on top of it. Now, let's say I want to remove that circle. Well, it's impossible for me to just select it. The best I can do is try and lasso it using the lasso tool, and once I do that, I can remove my selection. But not only is that sloppy, it also doesn't reveal the rectangle underneath. That information's lost now. A drawing program, on the other hand, treats every element of the canvas as an object, which means that you can select it individually and manipulate it or move it without affecting the other objects on the canvas. So for instance, I can draw my rectangle and then draw my circle on top of it, and then if I decide I don't want that circle anymore, I can just select it and clear it away, and it reveals the rectangle underneath. Drawing programs are also very good at letting you arrange objects the way you want. Once I select these two objects, I can, for instance, center them both in the left and right dimension and the top and bottom dimension, and there we go. This would be very difficult to do in a painting program. MacDraw also lets me create objects that fill an entire page. Then I can copy and paste them into a Paint document. Mac Paint and Full Paint limit me to editing a small portion of the page at a time. Full Paint has the advantage in that it'll let me copy large objects and paste them in without cropping them. But still, the process is troublesome. And it would be great if we could get around that somehow and use a single application that has the advantages of both drawing and painting programs. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, it turns out there is one.
And that brings us to SuperPaint, released in 1986 by Silicon Beach Software, just a few months after Full Paint. I was lucky enough to acquire this boxed copy on eBay for a very reasonable price. This version was definitely not new, but does appear complete. Inside, you find a manual, an advertisement for the next version, SuperPaint 2, the warranty card, and an addendum and one 800K floppy with the software on it. Despite the fact that SuperPaint is much more sophisticated than Full Paint, the manual is actually the same size. You might remember Silicon Beach Software as the people who brought you the game Dark Castle for the Macintosh, probably the best game for the early Macintosh in the 80s. And SuperPaint actually was their in-house graphics software that they decided to release commercially.
Okay, here's SuperPaint running, and now I can show you what the best feature of this application is. SuperPaint implements two separate layers on the canvas, a draw layer and a paint layer. And as you can see here in the corner, two separate sets of tools, a set of draw tools and paint tools. This lets you combine the best of both worlds, and they both work just as you would expect. So for instance, the paint tool works just like Mac Paint. You can even change the size of the brush. And the draw tools look and work just like Mac Draw. Switching between the two sets of tools brings each layer of the canvas to the foreground. And you can move things from one layer to another. So for instance, if I want to incorporate this rectangle into the paint layer, I just click the draw layer, then go up to edit and select copy to painting. Now when I click the paint layer, there it is.
This combination of tools makes certain jobs really easy. For instance, for this map, I was able to get all of the circles and all of the geometry arranged before importing all of those drawn objects into the paint layer, where I could do minor edits and add textures. By the way, this also is running on real hardware. It's my Macintosh LC3, and you'll notice that SuperPaint does a very nice job of supporting large screens and large resolutions, something that Full Paint couldn't do. Also, SuperPaint lets you draw and paint on the entire page all at once, whereas most paint programs like Full Paint and Mac Paint only let you edit in a tiny window that only took up about 1/3 of the page.
So there you have it, that's SuperPaint. It really became a standard for Macintosh graphics throughout the rest of the 80s, and you can see why with all of that fantastic functionality. At the time, there really wasn't anything else like it. Next time, I'm going to explore some of the first color paint programs on the Macintosh. Until then, thanks for watching.